25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Art can be a very powerful thing. And before I sound like I'm speaking metaphorically or something, I'm not. I'm speaking about a novel. A novel is a work of art. And when a novel is written in such a way that it moves you to think about things that are happening in the world, in your own life, that is what I mean by art being a powerful thing. Nadia Hashimi has written a beautiful, a profound, and a powerful novel. It is called When the Moon is Low. And Nadia is, in addition to obviously a very talented author, she's a pediatrician, so she works with children. This book is a novel, but it's based on fact. It says here, the rise of the Taliban in Afghanistan, the effect of the regime on the freedom and independence of women and their families, how the societal upheavals such as that happening over there helps to create the refugee crisis we see in numerous regions around the world, including right here in the United States as well as in Florida. And you can't blame them for wanting to leave. It's just it's an interesting thing to look at humanity and to wonder what people are thinking. And when somebody like Nadia is able to put it into a book and into a story, not just the facts, but also get you to see the people. You know, that to me, I think, is what makes it powerful. Not that I understand it, I just feel it. How about putting it that way? Nadia Hashimi, what an honor to have you on our show. Good morning, Nadia.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for that warm welcome.
Where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I'm in Maryland. I live just outside of D.C.
All right. Well, you're a pretty lady, if you don't mind me saying so. You're in. I look at the picture in the back of the book. So tell me about yourself a little bit before we talk about the book.
Well, as you said, I'm a pediatrician. I'm living in the D.C. area with my family here. My parents immigrated from Afghanistan in the early 1970s. My husband is born and raised in Afghanistan. And so I grew up in the United States, but with an extended family and people all around me who had really redefined home in their lives.
Well, was Afghanistan greatly different in the 70s compared to what it is now?
Absolutely. The Afghanistan that my parents grew up in was a place where my mother, for example, went to university. She got her engineering degree from Kabul. Her sisters all went to the university and obtained, whatever kinds of professional degrees they wanted to go into, and we're all working in various fields within the capital.
Do you know, whenever we look at a troubled part of the world, whether it's now or in history, and you speak to the actual people who lived there, you realize the same thing, that the people are usually pretty good. It's the governments and the ones who are in charge who are the ones who are the troublemakers. And it's so crazy because there's so many more of us than there are of them. The Hitlers of the world, for example. I mean, how does somebody like that change an entire country? How does the Taliban change Afghanistan so much when there's really so few of them? And I say that reluctantly because you might argue that there's so few of them. But I mean, compared to the good people, and where do they come from? How does somebody change their mind about being a good person, just trying to provide for his family, and establishing an allegiance for somebody with evil desires? I'll never understand that, but you're helping us.
Yeah,
I think
that's always a struggle, that's a whole other realm, is how to understand where these groups come from, these groups that want to take over and really turn these lives upside down, people who are really trying to live very peaceful. The people of Afghanistan that were so devastated by war, or the people of any other country that we're watching in the news now, they're no different than the people here in the United States that live around us.
Right.
So, these are people who want to tuck their kids in at night. They want to go to work in the morning. They want to put food on the table. And whatever God it is that they want to pray for, they're just trying to live their peaceful lives and move forward and progress and watch their children have a better future than they've had. And that really gets turned upside down by some of these regimes. And that's a great question, is, how do these people turn into those individuals that decide that they want to destroy? And I think part of understanding the psychology of those groups really comes from understanding that they believe in their hearts that they're doing the right thing. And that may be very hard for us to comprehend because their ideologies and their their perspectives and their means are so horrific to us, but that's really the angle that they're coming from.
Gosh,
so it's hard to reconcile that.
It is very hard, and putting it into this. Into the scope of women, how women are treated, how children are treated. I mean, if women are treated, I don't know, how are women treated, and how is it different now than before?
So, the women in Afghanistan have really undergone this sort of a pendulum in their progress. During my mother's time, for example, whether or not you want to judge things by clothing, the clothing in Afghanistan was very different. So there were women who were wearing very Western clothing, men were wearing very Western clothing, especially in the capital and in the cities. The opportunities for women were there, so women were going to school just like women like my mother. Friends and family that I have, women were working as physicians or in different professional fields. They were working in the government, and they had a degree of respect and liberty that was then very abruptly sort of taken away. And that downfall, that downward spiral of women's rights really came from the period of unrest. So it's starting with the Soviet invasion. War's not easy on anyone, and but it's a very different story for the women than it usually is for the men. And so for the women, there's a lot of hardship because they're losing husbands, they're losing breadwinners, and especially with a group like the Taliban coming in, they were really losing their roles in society.
Yeah. When we read the Diary of Anne Frank when we were all in school, we got to see a family. And Anne Frank didn't write a diary that was chastising what was going on in Europe at that time. She wrote about her family. And the book you've written is about family. It's considered a novel. Do we see any hint of your own family in this book at all?
The main character of the story, or I should say one of the main characters, as there really are two, is the mother, this young mother who's forced to take her children, pick up her pieces of her life, and see if she can set off on a path for survival, really. And her story, her early life, was drawn on a couple of people within my family who lost their own mothers very early on, had a stepmother, and how much that changes a person's trajectory.
In writing the book, since you grew up here, did you do research with your own relatives? Were you able to reach out to people and actually have discussions? Or is this something that's sort of embedded in your family because it's been talked about ever since you were a little girl?
It's both. A lot of this I grew up hearing. So, as I grew up, I knew family members who were in X country and trying to make their way over to, Y country. And so I was learning bits and pieces of those journeys and the mechanics of how people leave one nation and then make it to another, and the process of hoping, of applying, of reapplying, of waiting, of trying to get across a border. And so I grew up with those stories. At the same time, when I sat down to actually write the book, then I think to be authentic and to have some integrity to it, I went through and did a lot more interviewing and research and putting together some more details of the actual path of, the trail, for example, that would lead one from walking across Afghanistan and sneaking through into Iran. And so I wanted to be very true to that experience because this is a work of fiction, but it is based on so much reality, and I wanted to be very honest about it.
Well, and the fact that you've made it a fictional story is why I started the way I did, by saying art can be very powerful. I mean, you have taken your skill as a novelist and taken this real, true scenario and made us able to feel something. And that's what art does. Art helps us feel things, and whether it's music or paintings or a book or a play or a movie. Remember, The Sound of Music got us all to understand a little bit about what those people were going through with melodies.
Exactly.
All right, we'll take a little break and we'll be right back. This is fascinating stuff. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, times of clouds and sun with a couple of thunderstorms around this afternoon and this evening. The high today 89 to 93. And partly to mostly cloudy later tonight, though 74 to 78. Clouds will limit sunshine tomorrow. Look for a couple of thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon. The high 86 to 90. And for Saturday, clouds and limited sun with a shower and thunderstorm or two around. High 83 to 87. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
Stay informed on everything going on in the Villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the Villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Hi, Danny Warfel here. Get moving with Florida Credit Union's fast and easy loan approval process.
Let Florida Credit Union start up a new car loan for you today. No more waiting, hassles, or stop signs. You can even apply online. With a strong financial team behind you, you can enjoy great rates and fast approvals.
It's all about personalized service and a streamlined process.
Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life.
Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion brings together business and community partners, economic development leaders, and educational providers to connect employers with qualified, skilled talent and job seekers with employment and career development opportunities. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. to Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion, and learn how they can help you.
That was the sound of a tree falling. It could be your tree. You're going to have it trimmed, but never got around to calling Pride Tree Service. It could have fallen in a field, and now all you have to do is call Pride Tree Service, and they'll have it quickly out of the way for a great price. But don't wait until the tree falls. It may not fall in the field. It may hit your car, your house, or worse. So call Pride Tree Service today and avoid all those headaches before they happen. Pride Tree Service, 840-0750. That's 840-0750.
All right, 12 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Wow, the morning is going really fast. It's 82 degrees right now. On the phone is Nadia Hashimi. I think she said she was in Maryland. She is a pediatrician, but we're not talking about what she does as a pediatrician. We're talking about what she's written. The book is a beautifully written book. Clearly establishes for us in our minds, if you didn't already know, that there are real living people in Afghanistan, and it's not just about the Taliban. The book is called When the Moon is Low. It is a novel written by Nadia. I wanted to, Nadia, thank you for being on the air with us this morning. Could I read one paragraph for our listeners, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is a character by the name of Salim, and he says, "My sister could not go to school. My mother could not teach. My aunts, uncles, and cousins, everyone left. My family stayed. We listened to rockets in the sky and pray the rockets do not fall on our beds. There was no music. There was only life the Taliban way. Sometimes we think maybe the Taliban is better than fighting. Maybe the Taliban make the fighting stop, but they bring more problems." I wonder how many people have thought that way when they've been under the gun of other oppressors in history, that, gosh, maybe let's just give in to them, and then the fighting will stop. And we'll live their way. We'll have no music, and women will be treated badly. And it is kind of a tempting thing, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's really what happened with a lot of Afghans is, certain villages or certain areas of the country where the Taliban were then accepted. A lot of it really wasn't so much based on the, any kind of affection or appreciation of the Taliban ideology, but rather it was just fatigue. People were devastated, and we're talking about Afghanistan and 3 decades of war, and people who were really born and raised in a country of war, and so there was this big desire for just a peaceful time. Whatever it is, let's just muddle through it.
I know. And again, to compare it to the Nazis, can you imagine if we said that? Can you imagine? Just let them have their way. There would be no more Jewish people in the world. I mean, that's probably pretty sure.
Right,
There would be no more mentally challenged people in the world. So we have some friends here in Ocala, Florida, who are Muslim. They are the sweetest people you'll ever know, and they are the only Muslim people I know. But when all of the outcries that seemed to be pointing at Muslims was happening, I had a hard time on the radio trying to convince people that the label Muslim doesn't mean bad. It's a religion, and some people have hijacked it and are using it in bad ways. And guess what? Other religions have been hijacked in history as well. We need to figure out who the enemy is and not be mislabeling people because of that label that their religion happens to have placed on them. So I didn't even ask you. I'm sorry?
It gets lost in the shuffle because the problematic Muslim ideology that we're looking at, groups like ISIS or the Taliban, those are the ones that are the loudest, and they're the most visible. They're getting the most attention. And so we don't really get to see people who, for example, for my family, people who are Muslim but are going about their daily lives where, being Muslim is not, it's not everything. It is just part of a person's identity, and the rest of it is really wanting to live a very normal life. Well,
and if you are practicing to the extent that your daughters wear the headscarves, etc., that shouldn't in any way make the rest of us as Americans anyway suspect of you. I mean, to me, that part is where we fall short. We have this tendency to want to see something that identifies who we should be afraid of, and none of those, no labels work. You can't say any label works ever.
Absolutely. There are a lot of women who actually choose to wear that headscarf. So it's not always, we think of the veil sometimes as a symbol of oppression or dominance. But a lot of women actually choose to wear the veil because they are devout. And like you said, that is not their entire identity. They are full people with or without that veil.
Robin is in the studio now, and Robin, one of the things I think that shows up in the book a lot is the differences. Like in America, you don't see it a whole lot. I mean, there are differences in the way men and women are treated, but that's kind of superficial compared to the way they are in a country that has been ruled by Taliban. So one of the things I wondered about was, have you had anybody come from Afghanistan who's been subjected to this for long enough that they're kind of numb and they're kind of relieved to be here, or maybe even afraid to be free when they're here?
I have to say, within my family and the network of people that I know, everyone who left Afghanistan, they have this sort of dual patriotism. So everyone's got this vested interest in the homeland. My parents and relatives and friends, everyone sort of watches from afar what's happening in the homeland, even once they leave it. So they can't take two steps out of the country, but they still have their eye and their heart on what's going on in the country, not only because there are still family ties or friends that are living there, but also because it's the land that they grew up in. So this is, they're looking back at childhoods, at places that they had visited when they were young, at a country that really is part of their identity. But at the same time, all of these people have come to the United States or to any other country that they're living in and have really been so appreciative of that new place and have worked so hard to make that home and make that feel home, not feel like they are living on borrowed land, but to feel part of the society, engage in that society, get their education and work in that country.
And that's probably true for so many immigrants in this country. My own grandparents left Germany in the 20s and watched from here, from the United States perspective, as their country fell into this horrible ruin during the 40s. And now things are great over there. And I'm hoping the same thing will happen for Afghanistan and all of those Middle Eastern countries that are in turmoil right now.
I hope so. It would be a shame to see them go into a worse situation. So all we can do is wait for history to basically present itself, I guess.
I think one of the key factors is the young people, because now with the way media is, and then all of the young people across the globe are able to stay in contact with each other, compete in academics and things around the world from different organizations, that we need to reach out to the young people to be the ones to be the mediators, so we try to live more peacefully.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. You know, the young people, and there's so many organizations that are really named after it, but they are the seeds of change, and they are the seeds of peace. And hopefully with social media and different tools like that, they can connect with one another, understand one another, and see more similarities than differences.
Do you, here's what I think. I'm not going to ask you what you think. It's your book. It'd be kind of hard to ask you this question, but I think when your book is picked up by young people, that it'll clearly, establish in them the understanding that I think the book is really showing us that humans are humans, and they're not to be judged based on the labels. And
it's wonderful.
And one of these days, I guess, as Robin points out, the young people will be the ones who make that change happen, I hope.
I think so. And that idea of labeling people, you know, when we talk about refugees, people have a certain image that comes to mind. So you imagine camps, you know, tents, people sort of dressed in ragtag clothing and poor hygiene and very desperate situations. And yes, those are refugees. But, you know, once you are a refugee does not mean that that is your destiny forever and that is how you will look forever. So, you know, the refugees within the United States that we know, a lot of people, for example, the ones that I know now are working in banks. They're working as linguists for the government. They are purchasing homes. You know, their lives have changed. They are physicians who are working to heal others and help in the community. And so the evolution of a refugee, it's not always a plateau. It doesn't stay on that same level. I mean, people can rebuild their lives. They can have ups and downs and then, you know, triumph after that.
We have a very unique situation living here in Ocala, Florida. We have a sister city in Ireland, and once a year there's a big trip planned over there by the Chamber of Commerce in our area. And then a few other times during the year, the emergency personnel from that town in Ireland come here, and our emergency personnel go over there. And it's really wonderful to see the people changing ideas, accepting others the way they are, and maybe even incorporating their own into some of their daily lives.
Absolutely. I think that kind of an exchange, that you know, interaction between two different places, geographical, two different cultures, that's really helpful because it helps people to see that they have so much in common, that we really are just individuals who are sort of doing the same thing, just in different lands.
The book is called When the Moon is Low. It is a novel, but it's a very insightful novel and profound and beautiful. Nadia Hashimi is the author. I have a copy, a hardcover copy. If you want it, call me. I'll leave it on here at the station for you. Just come pick it up. The rest of us have to go buy it. And Nadia, do you have a website for you or for the book?
I do. It's NadiaHashimi.com, and it has information about my book and my other book as well.
So is this a new career for you? Are you going to keep being a pediatrician, or is novelist your new thing?
It's you know, I feel like I've got the invitation to 2 wonderful parties on a Saturday night, and I'm trying to figure out where to go. So it's a wonderful position to be in. I'm really appreciative of it. I'm really absolutely loving the writing process and being able to share stories with people and get feedback. So it's very rewarding, just as pediatrics is.
And your insight is very impeccable, too. I just love the book. Really refreshing.
All right, let me give it away. Good morning. You're on the air. You've got the book. Who's this?
This is Linnell.
Linnell, do you know where we are?
Yes, I do. I'd love to read it.
Well, you've got it, Linnell. It'll be waiting for you, okay?
And I will pass it on to others. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's see. If I go to a restaurant and I order Osh, A-U-S-H, that's noodle soup, Robin. Osh.
Okay, we're going to have to find one.
There's a glossary at the back, by the way.
Yes.
And that headscarf is called, how do you pronounce it? Chador?
Chadar, yes.
Chadar. All right.
Chadar, yes.
Nadia, thank you. What a beautiful interview. I love this, and I hope I was fair to the book. I was so interested in everything that the book is based on. But the book is beautiful for the listeners. Look it up. Go to Nadia's site, NadiaHashimi.com. Robin already put it on the guest list for today. Thank you, Nadia.
Wonderful to talk to you. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. 5 people have been found stabbed to death inside a suburban Tulsa home.